Hola mi gente, les habla Edwin Chungo Molina. Directamente tenemos con nosotros a nuestra compañera activista, escritora, Sarah Flounders, quien nos estará llevando un mensaje a toda la audiencia sobre la situación en Irán y demás temas. My people, we have Sarah Flounders, who is a writer, an activist, and a co-founder of Action Center. She has written many books on the militarism and share with us her vision and a little bit history on Iran. Sarah, welcome to Información al Desnudo. Please present yourself.
Well, thank you, Eddie. It's really good to be here talking. My apology that this is not in Spanish. I'm a co-founder of the United National Anti-War Coalition and also a contributing editor to Workers' World. All of my articles can be found at workers.org. And also a number of books that I have edited, more than 10 books on U.S. militarism and war, which is a constant part of our lives. The enormous expense for the wars, the disastrous impact of the wars, and the sanctions.
Sarah, tell us a little bit about what since '79, what had happened into today on the war against Iran.
Ever since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, where the U.S. stranglehold on Iran was broken, the U.S. imposed dictatorship of the Shah of Iran was broken. The U.S. has been determined to overthrow the Iranian government. Iran was, on the other hand, determined to use the oil, the gas, the resources of Iran to develop Iran from a semi-feudal, very underdeveloped, formerly colonized country into the modern powerhouse that it is today. It was the Iranian Revolution, a very radical revolution. It was Islamic, yes, it had a religious basis to it, but it made profound changes in the material life of all of the people, the poor, the peasantry, the workers. Suddenly, oil resources were used to modernize, to bring irrigation, to bring education to the whole population, especially for the women. The U.S. has always attacked Iran, saying that the women aren't free, but today we can look and see that more than half of the doctors, the scientists, the technicians, the engineers in Iran are women. That's quite an incredible accomplishment, where previously, overwhelmingly, the majority of women were totally illiterate. So they made big gains because they controlled their own resources. During that time, the U.S. used round after round of some of the harshest sanctions. They attempted to completely destabilize the economy, to strangle the economy, to stop Iran from trading with any other country, to stop Iran's access to modern technology. They arranged again and again assassinations, interventions, what they called regime change operations. This has been nonstop for the last 47 years, ever since the Iranian Revolution. And you could say this is maybe the 20th round of U.S. efforts using sanctions, using assassinations of leadership and of scientists and of engineers, using the economic strangulation, all of those measures, and actually using bombs again and again to destroy what Iran had built, to bomb schools intentionally, to bomb the sheer number of hospitals. The World Health Organization said more than 20 hospitals in Iran were destroyed. The pharmaceutical industry, the science labs, all of this is what the U.S. bombs. They want to attack civilian infrastructure. They want to create such pain that the people as a whole surrender, become demoralized. And the opposite happens again and again. The people rally behind the government. And as we saw yesterday, which forced the U.S. to back down, to agree finally to ceasefire talks on Iran's terms. Iran issued 10 points that were the basis for any talks. The U.S. had 15 points that were Iran's surrender, every one of them, their complete surrender. Well, there's ceasefire talks that will begin on Iran's terms of ending the sanctions, allowing the rebuilding, all of that. So this is a win for Iran, a big win. It does not mean that U.S. efforts to destroy Iran won't continue. Of course they will. Every agreement the U.S. has ever made with any developing, formerly colonized people anywhere in the world, they violate. It's a point of pride for the U.S. to violate agreements that they make and to be thieves and liars. It's what they are. So will this be the end of the war on Iran? No, it won't. But it is a real victory that the U.S. is even forced into ceasefire talks, even for a minute. Yesterday they were saying that civilization would end in Iran. They seemed to be threatening nuclear war, and the people didn't back down. They gathered in the tens of thousands. They surrounded the power plants and bridges that the U.S. said they would destroy. They came out in the millions, and the U.S. realized that even all-out bombing wouldn't break the people, wouldn't divide the population, wouldn't get them fighting each other. Instead, they were united. It's a big accomplishment. So today, we celebrate with Iran. We acknowledge a huge victory. And at the same time, we know it's not the end of this war. The U.S. will continue to threaten every country. They never give a moment's relaxation. We can see that with Cuba, 67 years of blockade. We can see it with the Chinese Revolution, 77 years, and the U.S. is still trying in every way they can to overturn, to divide, to disrupt. So, nevertheless, Iran held on, and that is a big accomplishment. And they're united. They say they will control now the Straits of Hormuz. They will charge every ship going in and out a toll. Now, that's something that's accepted with the Suez Canal. It's accepted with the Panama Canal. And now it will also exist for the Straits of Hormuz.
Sarah, will you tell us about all, particularly Israel, that is against those 10 points, and also some so-called congressmen in the U.S. Against those 10 points? And if you could briefly tell us about, read us the 10 points that the Iranians put on the table for negotiations.
Okay, yep. First of all, Israel is completely a U.S. proxy. It is like the attack dog they feed this wild, deranged beast, and then they'll say, oh, Israel is doing it. But Israel can't make one move without U.S. satellite overhead connectivity, without U.S. equipment, without U.S. subsidy that subsidizes the entire Zionist population in Israel. They can't do anything without U.S. complete complicity and funding and subsidies and support and military equipment. But the U.S. always says, oh, my dog made me do it. This attack dog, this beast I've created. They're the ones out of control. No, Israel is a proxy of the U.S. It exists to push U.S. interests in the entire region throughout West Asia, and they have failed. They failed even to defeat the Palestinian people, where there was a ceasefire, but the Palestinians refused to disarm, to disband, or to surrender. So even tiny Gaza, 2 million people, they held on steadfast. It's also true with Hezbollah in Lebanon. They agreed to a ceasefire with Israel. Israel has violated again and again. There's supposedly a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Israel bombs every day. So we know that they don't agree to do anything they claim that they will do. But nevertheless, Hezbollah has been able to rearm, has been able to again and again fire into Israel, and they are determined to hold on to their own territory. This is also true with Yemen, who has been firing at Israel, and all of this really shows that there is coordination among resistance groups within the region. What do they want? They want the U.S. out. They want the U.S. and its proxy out of endless war. They want an end to sanctions. Every one of these, Iran is sanctioned, so is Yemen, so is Gaza, so is Lebanon, Iraq. Every one of these countries is under U.S. sanctions, endless war, and they want this monster that's on their back out of the region. And they are demanding it. They are showing that they won't be defeated, that they can, with their drones and missiles, extract a heavy price. Now, their drones aren't enough to destroy U.S. imperialism, but they can push it back and push it out of their region. That's what they're attempting to do.
Sarah.
The 10 points.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead.
Include ending the sanctions, calling for withdrawing from the region, calls for control of the Straits of Hormuz. Iran is totally for ships going in and out, but they should pay a toll which will be used for the reconstruction of Iran. Huge damage has been done. And Iran says this money will go to rebuild what you have destroyed. So these are big steps. It will take time to rebuild because a lot has been destroyed by U.S. bombs and by the Iranians defending themselves.
Sarah, you think this 2 weeks so-called will be just to United States and Israel to rearm and forsake the agreement, the tentative agreement that they have reached on those 10 points?
Well, as I say, the U.S. has never abided by any agreement, by any ceasefire. I mean, they're open about it. Twice before, they attacked Iran in the middle of negotiations, called on Iranian leaders to meet together to consider the terms. And as they were meeting, they bombed, they killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and 50 top Iranian generals and elected officials, top administrators, in one attack. And then to show it was meant against the whole people, they went back 3 times and bombed a school for young girls again. And then people rushed in to try to save the children. They bombed again. And then they moved people to a safe place. They bombed again. That's the way the U.S. fights its wars, attacking defenseless and attacking leadership. Yes. So I don't think that they will hold to the agreement. Nevertheless, they couldn't continue the war. And what the whole world now knows is that the U.S. missile shield is not very strong. The Patriot missiles, Iranian drones and missiles came through. What's called the Iron Dome that Israel had that supposedly made Israel impenetrable. They could commit any crime and no one could hit them back. And it turns out Iran has found a way through their drones, through their missiles, to attack deep and to do so again and again. So all of this multi-billion-dollar equipment and the military contractors that have made billions off war, the whole world sees these aren't very effective weapons. They're not very good protection. And that's important too, because really the U.S. thought they were invulnerable. And they convinced all of the Gulf countries that if they spent billions and billions of dollars on U.S. equipment, they would also be protected. And it turns out they weren't at all. So this is a hard reckoning. The whole world now knows that U.S. weapons are not all powerful and that they can be broken through. The U.S. lost planes, including planes that cost $500 million a piece, and they were supposedly invisible to radar. Turns out Iran developed a technology that could see them, fire them, actually hit them. It's quite incredible. The same thing with giant radar planes and you know, I could go on and on naming all of these different aircraft, but the big thing is, it turned out Iran had technology that could bring down these planes. That is a good lesson for the U.S. because the whole world saw it. They take pictures of every one of these ships, aircraft lying in pieces. And they also know that Iran has developed, they don't have a regular navy, they have a resistance guerrilla navy with thousands of little super fast speedboats, many of them drones. They can go right up to a ship. That means that they can enforce control of the Straits of Hormuz.
In the last few minutes, a message to all these people that they're listening to you in Información al Desnudo, La Voz Latina, WBAI in New York, and in the world, in Puerto Rico also. A last minute of how you foresee the future in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I think there is a new world order that is emerging painfully out of chaos and war, where countries operate together, with resistance formations operate together. I think both Russia and China played important roles in sharing their technology and GPS, all kinds of other equipment that Iran was able to draw from. All of this means that the U.S. empire is in serious decline, decay, no longer has the weapons, no longer has the industrial might to impose their power. They can make wars, but we should be more confident than we've ever been that their days of domination are drawing to a close.
Sarah,
countries that have stood together, such as in Cuba and in Venezuela, where still the military has stayed together, the people's militia. They didn't break it up into pieces, which was their goal. So let's take real lessons about unity, believing in resistance.
Sarah, there's been more than 9 million people demonstrating against the war, against the the economy in the United States. How will you foresee the next November election?
Well, whether it's Republican or Democrat, whenever the Republicans are in, the Democrats say they'll bring peace. And when the Democrats are in, what was Trump's promise? He would end the endless wars. They're both imperialist parties, both of them. They're both for colonial domination, both of them. And so what's needed is strengthening the grassroots movement, the people's resistance, and aligning with the forces and countries around the world. They're part of our class, the working class, in a global sense. So let's become more class conscious. Let's strengthen people's unity here and around the world, and not put any confidence in Democrats or Republicans. They're both imperialist parties who want U.S. corporate domination.
Well, Sarah, here in Información al Desnudo, the Naked News, WVI, La Voz Latina, and other medias that cover our coverage. We thank you so much for your time, and thank you, and we'll be talking pretty soon about all this.
Thank you so much, Eddie, and thank you for continuing all these years.
Same to you. Same to you.